What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 84 show. As always, I am Arty 84 here on Masshole Sports Network. And today's episode, we're going to go down memory lane, a splash. And the reason I think we're going to do this episode today is because I was going over some stuff recently, and I was thinking to myself, I go, it's been 23 years since I started going on spring break. We were at our first spring break back in 2003, and now it's also 2026. So there's been several marches that have passed that we've gone to Florida and doing similar things, but not exactly the same thing. Different things, I guess you could say. Um, but there's always been a common denominator on these trips, and it's essentially been going to like a Sox game or spring training in general. So as you can see, if you know this page and you've been following, we just got back from a trip down to Florida for essentially spring break 2006, which is a fun thing to do when you're 41 years old. You know, it's funny because things look the same, everything's the same except for the people. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm like the oldest person there, but we used to go. There used to be groups of us going. I think we only did a group. Sorry, excuse my chewing. I really couldn't help but to have a starburst in the middle of this episode. But it is so good. Also, the beverage of choice for this episode is Sam Adams Derek White Ale. Very nice. You can actually receive this beer in a variety pack, a varietal, if you will, of Boston team beers. We have this being the representation for the Celtics. There's also a Edelman beer. Who else? There's a Chara beer for the Bruins and a Crochet beer for the Sox. All different varietals of styles of beer for your liking. This is the first time tasting the Derek White Ale, but it's very good. And it's cool it has a little picture on there right there. So this was not available to me in Spring Break 2003. But today we're going to talk about Spring Break 2004 because 2004 was a unique animal on its own. It was the first year we were going to get a hotel or hotels. It was the first year we were kind of doing a little bit of a road trip, if you will. We're going to try to take this thing down in one day from Boston to Fort Myers, which is a trek in its own, something only the young can do. Nowadays, I take a trip like that in 3 days, never alone a 24-hour spurt. We had no GPS, no internet in the car, no MP3s, just burnt CDs, a couple of AAA maps, and pray, prayer. That's about it. And we decided to do something very interesting. We decided to do two cars for some particular reason because we're very environmentally friendly. I don't know why we decided to take two cars. To be honest with you, I look back on it and it was very economically non unresponsible of us. You can figure we were 20 years old at the time. Not even, we were 19. It was March of 2004. We're all 19 years old, except for Anthony came with us, who was 22. Well, at the time, I guess he just turned 22 at the time. And there was four of us for two cars to drive to Florida for no reason whatsoever. Now, in retrospect, if I were to do this all over again, I would have punted on me taking my vehicle. Fine, we'll just take one vehicle. We'll take Joe's red Tempo he had. The thing was, they didn't want to be squished in the back of a Jeep Wrangler for 2 days, which I don't blame them. But, I mean, once we got down to Florida, the advantage was you could take the roof off, you had a little bit of convertible, and it was a nice little ride. But, getting there is half the battle right there. So we really did a disservice to ourselves because we didn't really get a chance to, like, rotate driving appropriately. In fact, I drove all the way from Boston to Fort Myers straight. And I have to tell you, it was a trek and a half, especially like the way we did it wasn't even like organized. It was kind of like it's a miracle that we survived, to be quite honest with you. In that time, it was completely terrible with the entire ordeal. But we we thought it was a good idea. So I want to share some. So I have this is like when I first started documenting everything. So well, right now I document everything video wise, which was some photography, but um, still frame photography. But we still, but at this point, we didn't have the means to video. Now we did and we didn't. So here's the problem: I had a camcorder because obviously prior to spring break had been videotaped. I brought it down. For what reason, I don't know. I didn't bring the camera this trip, and I think about it all the time. And my perspective is, I 20 years ago we had no way to do anything with this video. Once it was videotaped, it was on the video. You could transfer it over to a VHS if you wanted to, but essentially it was just going to be put away and nothing. We didn't have YouTube at the time. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have MySpace. We had no way to share it. To me, in my theory of videotaping this stuff was I didn't see into the future of what you possibly could do with these videos later on in life. And it's kind of pisses me off when I think about it because I wasn't smart enough to think that, oh, wow, and maybe in a few years we could digitize it. I didn't even know what digitizing at the time. Videos on the computers and stuff were limited to basically DVDs and about it like that. You could download some stuff from like LimeWire and everything, like some videos, but they take up such a significant amount of space on your computer. All of us even bother with it. But if I can go in a time machine, I would go back to 2004, Arty, and be like, all right, dude, stop videotaping this shit. Because 20 years later, you're going to want to watch it. And I kind of wish I did because there's a lot of stuff going down. Granted, I took a shit ton of pictures on this trip. So, what I'm going to do to make this a little interesting, I'm going to go through the pictures and tell the story through the pictures from what I remember. Now, we'll start this off. Our goal was to leave at 5 p.m. on a Friday afternoon from Revere. We're going to meet at the Dunkin' Donuts that is now Easy Pie in North Revere, where the former Johnny's Food Master, now Harley Davidson dealership, was. And the goal was to meet there with buddy Adam. I think Joe picked him up, or he got dropped off there. But it was me and Adam in the Jeep, and Joe and his brother Anthony in the red Tempo. And we were going to leave and take off, or red neon. I think it was a red neon at this point. I think he upgraded a little bit. He had a red Tempo originally. And that was the trip. We were going to do that, and we're going to head out to Florida. Now, I wasn't considering traffic. I wasn't considering any of that measures. All I knew was based on the year before drive and the 20 years prior of us driving as a family every year to Florida, that's all I had. And we kind of just going with it. So we get to the Dunkin' Donuts, we meet up, we get in the car, and we start driving south. Now, prior to that day, I had class. I had like a couple of classes in the morning. So the goal is I think I got out of class on Fridays like around 11 o'clock. So I headed home and I was just going to sleep when I got home. But you know how it is before a trip. You can't sleep. The anxiety's crazy. I'm like trying to sit there, try to sleep. I took some NyQuil, which is probably a terrible idea because it probably affected me in the long run going down to Florida driving. But I thought if I took a little bit during my last class, by the time I got home, I'd be tired enough to sleep. I was not tired enough to sleep. And in fact, I was basically like a zombie, if you will. I also came up with this concoction where I got a box of Joe, an empty box of Joe. I bought an empty box of Joe from the guy who was working at Dunkin' Donuts. He was one of our buddies. We used to see him like 3 times a week. We'd hang out at Dunks before we could hang out at bars. And basically, I talked him into selling me just an empty box of Joe. So what I had done was I got a box of Joe, and I was going to brew my own coffee and a coffee pot. And I was going to mix the sugar and cream in the box of Joe and shake it all up. And then I had a little bracket that I built that suspended off the roll bar on the Jeep. And I had a hose that I bought that went right directly to my mouth and clipped to like the side of the seatbelt. So every time I wanted coffee, I could have direct pour into my mouth. Now, why did I do this? I don't know. It's not like I didn't have hands. And I could have just easily made the coffee and just poured it into like a thermos or a coffee cup at that point. But let's do things crazy. Let's go crazy. Let's buy a box of Joe. Now, granted, this thing, we set it up. I poured the coffee. I did everything I needed to do. And within, I don't know, probably 5 hours into the trip, I wasn't using this thing anymore. And by the end of the trip, I had forgot it was in the car. It had been crushed and destroyed. And the cream I hadn't drank it all. Not to mention, I didn't take in consideration that if I'm drinking a giant box of Joe, I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom every once in a while. I don't know why I was thinking. Also, during this time, caffeine pills were a thing. I don't know if you guys remember those. I don't even know if they even still exist anymore because I haven't looked for them in 2 decades. But I had bought these caffeine pills. This was before Red Bull. Oh, Red Bull had just come out, but it was people weren't drinking it very much. I think I had one Red Bull prior to this engagement, and people weren't really thinking about energy drinks at this point. I mean, it was just coffee and caffeine pills, right? It was like that episode Saved by the Bell where Jesse's addicted to caffeine pills. It's a gateway drug. They were saying on that show. Imagine that. Now, if they only knew what we got 20 years later. So a combination of a box of Joe coffee, a combination of caffeine pills, and the ability just to drive straight down to Florida with my buddy next to me and another car in front of me. We also had Nextels at the time. I don't know if you guys remember Nextels, the 2A. Hey, you doing? How you doing? They were basically walkie-talkies that you paid a cell phone service for. So you could walkie-talkie other people with Nextels, or you could just make a phone call. Now, all of us had Nextel. So basically, we communicated throughout, hey, what are you doing? To the other car. Basically, that's how we did this. It was a very goofy thing, right? So that's what we did. And that's how we communicate. So we left Boston, immediately stuck in traffic on the Mass Pike. Because if anyone knows what traffic's like in Boston, on a Friday night, leaving Boston, going on the Mass Pike, you know as well as I know that traffic is not good. If I remember correctly, we left at 5. We at 9:30 p.m. we got to the Bridgeport rest area in Connecticut. Now, retrospect, no traffic. That should be about a 2.5 hour drive, going the speed limit, going the regular route. That took us 4.5 hours. So we're already 2.5 hours behind the 8 ball before we even got out of New England. We even hit New York yet, and the traffic started breaking once we got past Hartford, and we were starting to flow. Now, the way I look at it was like, all right, well, we're all right. We're in good shape here because we're going to be hitting all the major cities, basically from New York to Baltimore, overnight. So we shouldn't have an issue with traffic. And there's really no traffic once you get past Baltimore for the most part until you really hit Florida, and then it depends on your Florida. But this was 20 years ago. It wasn't like it used to be. You know what I mean? So we got in the car, we started driving, and let's see. Actually, I'm doing pictures. All right, so let's do this. We can do this. You can do it. How's it gonna let me share it? Let's do it side by side here. That'd be good right there. Okay. So I don't know if you can see the pictures, but if you obviously can't see it on Instagram because it's a live behind the scenes show right here. But if you're watching us on YouTube, you could see. So this picture right here, the first picture, was basically us at the rest area in Bridgeport. Now this rest area is long gone at this point. They had knocked it down, built a new one, but we were basically kind of just hanging out at this McDonald's. McDonald's was hopping basically for 10 o'clock at night, or almost 10 o'clock at night on a Friday, I guess. I don't know, people were going there. So we popped in there. That was our stop before we went down. Next picture is around, it's probably 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning. We're in Maryland. So if we were at Bridgeport, say at 10 by the time we left, we had another 2 hours, so 12. Um, This is probably like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. We are right over the border in Maryland, and we stopped at this rest area that also no longer exists. I actually went back years ago, and I started an Excel spreadsheet and a Google Maps, and I pinpointed all these spots on this trip. And I'll see if I can share the link on the bottom of this episode. If it's down there, that's what I did. And you could basically see where these spots were along the way. I did some like geo mapping. I had to go back in. Like I used like I don't know, like clues to figure out stuff. Like I could look at things and some of the stuff I think 95% of the pictures I have ever taken I was able to geomap and tag as I went back into the archives, which is pretty cool. And obviously some of the buildings aren't there, so it's like where the buildings were, or it could be like a rest area. For example, this is a rest area that no longer exists, but it was built on the same spot as the new rest area. So kind of ideas like that. So at this point right now, we're exhausted. We're ready to go. We have a lot of energy. We're ready to drive. And we're going down. We're in Maryland. I remember going into the bathroom, splashing some cold water in my face because I had a buddy that made me like a mixed CD of like I was really into house music, right? And I forget the guy, who the CD I had, but he made me this mix, and I'm listening to it in the car in the CD player. Now this buddy is in jail right now. He murdered his boss. So I wish I could ask him what the CD was, but it's impossible. I'm sure I have it in a buck box downstairs or something like that in the basement, but who the hell knows? But yeah, he got me into house music, and then he murdered his boss like 20 years later. But I mean, shit happens. What are you gonna do? We all not perfect. But anyway, so I'm like really getting into this house music driving, but I'm getting tired and stuff like this. And I'm like, the guy next to me, Adam, who's pictured in this picture with I was gonna say with the hat, but they all have hats on, with the black jacket, had fallen asleep for the majority of this ride, and it wasn't really keeping me company at this point. And I was kind of just like, hey, I guess I'm all by myself, so I'm two-way in the car in front of me now. Hopefully they're awake because they're driving the car, right? But the idea was to get one person to at least sleep, so that maybe we can rotate vehicles every once in a while. That was the theory. Not so much. So here we are in the rest area in Maryland. It's going the wrong way. And here we are in south of the border. Okay, so we hit south of the border probably around. We got there probably around 6:30 a.m. We crossed over into South Carolina, and the sun was up. Things were going good. The weather was starting to warm up a bit, and we had stayed here the night for a night the year prior to this when we went down, and at this ratty old motel off the beaten path and right near South the border, and had chili dogs for dinner and a whole lot of craziness going on. Spring Break 2003 is a whole nother time. We'll get into that. Part of the video is available on some of the web pages on Mass Sports and everything like that. But it was a time and a half, and it was very interesting. And I actually went back 20 years later and hit most of the spots that we drove on the way and took video and compared the two of the time. So it's kind of crazy being able to find these places that we went to on this goofy road trip to Florida for spring break. But we gotta do what we gotta do. That's the kind of stuff we do here. So that's an interesting thing right there. So yeah, at this point we're at south of the border, and we're getting a little goofy here. Here's Adam in the store. This is one of the big stores. This store might actually be gone now. They had ripped down a couple of the buildings since we've been there. This looks like the convenience store. Yeah, I think this shop's gone. Um, there's Pedro's hat, the leather shop. That's still there. You can never go up to the top of the sombrero. It's never open, but I've tried about 20 times. I've never been able to get up there. We got oh yeah, there's the place we ate on Spring Break 2003. I had the chili dog. Um, that place is actually still there. We were there a year ago. I drove by. I popped my head in there to see what it looked like. It was exactly the same as it did in 2003, which I'm sure looks exactly the way it was built, I think, in the 70s. So nothing's quite changed there, which is nice. Things are staying regular there. If you don't know, if you're just joining this program or this channel, and you don't know much about me, I have an obsession with South of the Border. My goal is to someday buy South of the Border, redo it all up, put a minor league baseball team there. I want to put like hotels and apartments and some rides, and just make it a cool little spot to hang out with in the middle of nowhere in the border of North and South Carolina. So very ambitious about this project. If there's any funders out there, I have this vision in my mind. I just need the money. If I had the money, it would already be done. But there we go. Yeah, so there's the big South of the Border guy. There's the fireworks shop. That fireworks shop is actually gone now. And that yellow building right there is actually gone. They knocked those down. I'm like pointing over here because the screen's over here, but you can see it over here, one side or another. Um, that is actually still the sign where the Rockets City is. The structure is still there. I think there's actually still a sign there, but the fireworks shop's gone, and the yellow building's one we were in. That's also gone. I don't know if it burnt down or they just knocked it down, but they still sell fireworks in some spots. But I'm pretty sure that's the building that's gone. There's Joe and Adam buying fireworks. We did buy a significant amount of fireworks on this trip. I believe we didn't buy them until the way home, but we did buy some fireworks, and we also had we did not have alcohol with us. Anthony refused to buy us alcohol. He as being a 22-year-old, which being a responsible man, I don't blame him. So we didn't have to worry about that. We just had to worry about the illegal firearms and the amount of cigarettes that these two smoke all the time. So they bought cottons of it on the way. There's Anthony playing with a big cherry bomb blaster. Joe with some fireworks there. Moon Travelers 350 probably for a pack of fireworks is Joe with the big giant Pedro guy right there. It's just still there. Here we're just bunch of guys, 7 o'clock in the morning, South Carolina, playing around with the with all the good stuff over here, with the jumping on the cows. It's ironic. This guy actually sells cow meat. Well, he actually sells pig meat. He was in the meat business. I don't know if I could change this camera over here. Let's see. We'll go this way. I don't know if you could see the screen. I don't know if it's worth seeing right there. Right there. I don't know. We can go through it. So, that way you have some kind of context of what we're talking about right there. So yeah, Anthony right there now sells meat. So he was jumping on a giant cattle, which is funny. Is Adam riding a horse? There's the giant wiener dog that's still there. A lot of these things are still there. So if you go to south of the border, you can still see this stuff here. We got the gorilla, another monkey right there, and then slipping food mine. Now, oh yeah, so we had stopped in a place called Slippin' prior to getting to south of the border. This is on exit 12 in Emporia, Virginia, right, or exit 8, right before you get into North Carolina, and it's this place called Slippins. I'm trying to look for the book I have over here of like I Drive 95. I don't see it anywhere. But basically, this place was called Slippins. We thought it was funny. Joe actually bought a hat that said Slippins, and we had gone to this place. We stayed near this place when we were on spring break 2003, and we ate our dinner at the Emporia Slippin um, travel station in the Best Western Motel that was next door. So that was interesting. That was a whole situation on the ride home that year, but we felt the need to stop in and say hello to our old home. So there's Joe with the picture of the slip in right there. Then we went to a Shoney's all you can eat breakfast buffet extravaganza for at the time was $5.99. Good, great deal. You get coffee, you get breakfast, you eat until your head falls off. The quality of Shoney's has gone down significantly in the last 20 years, so I wouldn't suggest it. Uh, But yeah, we this was be a thing. We did this. I discovered this a couple of years prior, and then I was addicted to Shoney's for like a decade, and then I kind of fell off. I had it back in 2016, and just wasn't the same. It just didn't do anything for me anymore. So unfortunately, the Shoney's rush is on. But I do admire the guy behind us. Was hanging out. I wonder if anyone knows who this guy is. I don't know if you guys can see it, but if anyone knows who the guy is in the picture right there behind Adam and Joe. Um, and who's looking into the camera quite nicely at us and want to be part of the crew. He's somewhere in South Carolina right now. Perhaps maybe he's not. Maybe he was just traveling through like we were. But this was at the Shoney's in South Carolina that no longer exists anymore. When I went to geomap it, it was ripped down. It has been replaced with like a Crystal Burger or something like that, which is a little unfortunate. That was one of the spots we went to go revisit, and it was not there anymore when we did the trip again, a couple years after like that. So what are you gonna do? So that Shoney's gone. That guy, no clue where he is. And soon enough, we will have the technology where if you post a picture online and say you're in the background of the picture, AI will be able to identify you. So someday I will post this picture, and AI will be able to let this guy know that he's been in my photo album for the last 20 something years, and maybe we can finally meet. We should just talk to the guy. I never looked at these pictures until after we got home, so I had no idea. So, I mean, if I seen this, like, it was just very ironic, but funny. There's the Shoney's that no longer exist anymore. Is Anthony was obsessed with brushing his teeth at every possible minute, so he was brushing his teeth in the Shoney's parking lot. And actually, this is how I figured out the geomapping for this Shoney's was because you can see a street sign in the back, and there's a Waffle House over there, and it was like a green roof over there. And if you go to Google Earth, you can actually find out. I put the two together. I got the name of the road, and I got all that stuff right there. So that's how we geomapped that trip. Also, there's a they said they had a seafood buffet at Shoney's. I would not suggest the seafood buffet at Shoney's. I once had fried clams at a Denny's in North Carolina, and it wasn't like coastal North Carolina. It was landlocked, very middle of the state, North Carolina, at Denny's. Wouldn't suggest it to you guys. So stay away from that animal, if you will. I'm in Joe's car at this point. Anthony's driving my Jeep with Adam. Prior to this, Anthony and Adam had never met before. This was the first time with them meeting each other, and it was very interesting because they were now in a car together, driving for a few hours. So, and me and Joe just thought it was hilarious that two strangers were sitting in the car, um, you know, for hours just shooting up. Prior to this, we had stopped at a place called, this is a fireworks store we drove by. That's me taking a picture of my car being driven by Anthony. Be driving next to him. We're in some town in South Carolina, Georgia. Now we're switching back. I'm driving again, and now we're in Florida, Florida Welcome Center. It was probably not appropriate to take the roof off of the Jeep, but because we got into Florida, I felt the need to. It was probably 60 degrees, and we froze our asses off, but we had to, you know, we just decided to do it anyway. So there you go. Florida, take pictures. Oh, so all right, here we go. So we're in at this picture right here, Jacksonville, Florida. Prior to this trip, we had connected with these two twin girls that we went to school with for elementary school. They left like when we were in like fifth grade. They were friends with me and Joe. And through the miracle of AOL Instant Messenger, we had friends that still were in contact with these girls. So we started chatting with them, and, catching up and stuff like this. And we're going to meet for lunch, see how they're doing and everything. They had moved to Jacksonville, and we arranged to, we had no idea what time it was. We had their phone number. I guess we called them along the way and said, hey, we're going to be in we're ETAs and so on. So we met at this like random parking lot in Jacksonville, and went to first time we went to a Sonic. Now, this location of the Sonic, we still haven't 100% pinpoint. I have like a idea of where the Sonic was, but I have no idea where it is. All I know is we met him in a parking lot. We followed him to the house. Then we followed him to another parking lot. This is where I wish we started recording stuff back in the day of video, because then I wouldn't be able to figure this out. But all the pictures I have, I cannot identify. We're in some kind of Publix parking lot. I've searched all the Publix in the area of this Jacksonville area. I've zoomed into the pictures of the street signs, couldn't figure it out. I like try to figure out different things and just couldn't figure it out. So we almost certain. So if anyone recognizes this parking lot, Publix parking lot, there is um a Sonic in this parking lot that we went to that may or may not still be there. I don't know, but there it is. So after we met for lunch with the girls, we hung out for about an hour or so. It's probably around 3 o'clock. We decided to make our way, and here we are in Orlando, outside Orlando area on I-4. And it's probably like 6 o'clock at night at this point. We still got about 3 hours to get to Fort Myers at this point. I don't think we rolled into like 9:30 that night. Um, so at this point we're here, and I've been taking. I used to take pictures of my car in gas stations. I don't know why, but I was able to geomap these gas stations to figure out where they are, and some of them actually still exist, which is funny enough. Gas. Look at that, 173 for regular, not too shabby back in 2004. Especially when you're taking two cars. You know, here's a picture of Adam pointing to something to Joe. And what Adam is pointing to Joe at is that there is a prison across the street. And as he's doing this, some random guy had just gotten out of prison and was asking people for money at the gas station. It must happen all the time. And I don't know how Adam put two and two together, but he realized that, oh God, this guy just left prison. And the prison's literally across the street. You could see the entrance to the prison was literally across the street from this gas station. What a terrible place to put a gas station, especially off the interstate. But this prison still exists, and this gas station still exists. And I think I got a really bad Krispy Kreme donut at this point, too. Here's a picture of me looking like a young buck 23 years ago. And that does it for that day. Um, let's see. Can I do the next day? Let's see. Let me stop the sharing. Let me do this. I wish it was an easier way to do this, but we'll figure it out. All right, so that's day one. We got to Florida through the thing. So this next group of pitches is us finally making it to Florida. And let's see. I'll open as a slideshow. Bear with me here, people. Let's see. I set it up earlier, but I don't remember how I set it up. Photo with preview. Here we go. All right, so here we go. This is the new 53. Okay, this picture of my grandparents' house. All right, so let's share this. We might not be able to get through this. This might be a two-part episode. We don't want this episode to go too long. We've been like 20 minutes so far. Um, but we'll get to this point here. Let's see. This is screen is being shared. Okay, great. That's what we want. Okay, scroll through the pictures like I did with the other ones. All right, yeah. So these are random pictures of my grandparents' house. It doesn't look no longer exist anymore. Well, the house exists, but they don't live there anymore. Well, they both have passed since, so probably a reason they're not living there. Yeah. So this is pictures of their house, their condo, and here we go. This is the Edison Mall. Now we used to go to the Edison Mall all the time. This is where we like basically was our headquarters for stuff when we started to do stuff down there. We had to go there. We did a mall walk. We had to do stuff to kill time because we weren't 21 yet. So we had to figure out things to keep things interesting. There was a Burdines there, which I think I just bought. They got bought out by Macy's. It was very Floridian. There's a finish line. I worked at a finish line. In fact, spring break 2003, we went to this finish line and I bought flip flops and I was flirting with a girl and we asked her to go to the beach with us and she was supposed to meet us there the next day and she never did. Fun fact. So I don't think I bought anything at the finish line this time, but you know, decided to take pictures. Finish line. So the only finish line that I know that still looks like this right now is the one in the Square One Mall that they haven't renovated. This is like a retro finish line. This one no longer looks like this. They all changed to like JD Sports or something like that. Is the mall court area, all that good stuff going over there. All right, then we went to the baseball game. We went to where the Red Sox used to spring train. They used to spring train over in City of Palms Park, which is like a ghetto of Fort Myers. And there was no parking bails. Basically, you park on people's lawns and church parking lots and stuff like this. So we went to a game and we seen it appears to be the Red Sox. It's Pedro on the mound warming up right there. It's me and Anthony looking all sexy with our little cardboard cutout picture. Manny Ramirez at bat, playing the Orioles. David Ortiz playing first, rarity. Um, Fun fact: Red Sox won the World Series this year. We have no idea at this point. We're just down there in Florida. They had just lost the year before with that upset Game 7 uh, home run Aaron Boone hit. So we were just trying to get back into the baseball feeling right now. But we would have no idea when I was taking these pictures or we were on this trip that the Red Sox were going to finally win the World Series after 86 years. But who knew? But here's some retro pictures. Veritech batting right there. This is the lineup for the day. So this is to tell you some perspective right here. And let's see. I'll make this go over here. So maybe you guys can see it on this thing over here. I don't know how good you're going to be able to see it. But that picture right there says that the Red Sox lineup for the day was Johnny Damon, Gabe Kapler, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, Ellis Burke, Kevin Millar, Jason Veritek, Cesar Crespo, Pokey Reese, and Pedro Martinez was pitching. That was the lineup for the Boston Red Sox. The Orioles was Brian Roberts, Larry Bigby, Miguel Tejada, Rafael Palmeira, um, it's like Javi Lopez, David Scull, Mark Lamore, Jack Cuss, uh, Raines Jr. and Sidney Ponson was pitching for the Orioles. No, it's funny that you look at this lineup for the Red Sox and you're like, holy shit, this lineup wins this wins the World Series in 2004. So it's kind of cool looking back. And since this day, I've taken a picture of the lineup every single spring training I go to just for sport and speculation. So there's a fun fact for you right there for all you baseball fans up there in the baseball land. I guess I don't know where I was going with that. Okay, here's some more pictures of them just in the park. This is what City of Palms looks like. City of Palms is still there. It's kind of abandoned. No one's using it right now. The City of Fort Myers owns it. I don't know what to do with it. I had done a video. Excuse me. Oh God, I done a video a couple years ago where I went to City of Palms. Where we tried to get in, and I tried to bribe the grounds crew guy because there was still a grounds crew guy there for a while because it was being used by a local college that no longer uses it anymore. And there was still someone there that kind of, I don't know what he was doing, maintaining or just being security or something like that. So I almost got inside of it to tour, but guy wouldn't let me in. I didn't want to do anything illegal, so we didn't do that. But that's what it looked like. There's me wearing a nice tight white men's small Red Sox tee, looking good. This is me with my Under Armour. I don't know why I'm posing. This is, I guess, what we did. There's Anthony with his pale skin hanging by the pool at my grandmother's, and there's Joey with his sweater. Adam wearing a t-shirt. There's the old DeMatia golf cart, RIP. We took a picture of this because we thought it was funny. It says Anthony's Ladies Apparel. We were just making jokes that Anthony owns this place. We go down to Fort Myers Beach, RIP, which is still nothing's gone on since the hurricane, but pretty much got all wiped out. So a lot of these pictures you'll see right here no longer exist. There's this guy from Australia who used to do some like comedy shows in the morning. I mean, at night for people walking by. He pulled Anthony's pants down or something like that. Here we are at a Hooters that no longer exists. This Hooters was destroyed by Ian, Hurricane Ian. That hit in like 2023, I think it was. Totally destroyed that area, and yeah, including this Hooters that doesn't exist, and they haven't rebuilt it. So Anthony taking a picture of the Hooters girl, all that good stuff. The Walgreens, that was a hangout spot, I guess. So that goes for that day. And let's see, maybe we get one more day in here. Let's try 15th. All right, so we'll do that. Well, eventually, I'll get this eventually. I'm telling you. So we'll do it up to the third day here. We'll come back to this on another episode. Let's see. Show preview options. Uh, da, da, da. Preview. Here we go. And we'll share this. I wish I had a producer. It would make my life so much easier, wouldn't it? Someone just does this for me. Someday. Someday. And we'll share. Yeah, let's share this. There we go. All right. So this is the juice factory, the orange juice factory they called it. And my grandfather used to take me out all the time, but they make the orange juice right here. It's a giant orange from the Sun Harvest. Still there. You can go there, check it out right now. It's in Fort Myers. It's in the end of Metro. Going into kind of near the Minnesota Twins spring training stadium. It's pretty cool over there. I'll bring it over here so you can see some of the pictures if you like. Um, It's the inside of the orange squeezing facility. They do a little tour you can go see. I don't know if they still do a tour. Back then they let us do a tour. They brought us in, showed us how they make orange juice and all that stuff. There's Joe and Adam rocking out in the car behind us. Big mini golf. Got a couple mini golf facilities there. We'd go play mini golf, have a good time. This mini golf course is still there. Very pirate theme. Had little alligators. Pretty cool. There's a lot of pictures of us playing mini golf. There's our balls. Someone had the blue ball, of course. That was funny. I think it was Joe. Joe was posing with the blue ball. And we're all taking turns like we're photo. Here we are in the parking lot. The yellow Jeep, the roof off, looking good. Adam's ass. It's nice. Smuggler's Cove, there it is. The beach outlet place. So it's driving. It's me with like a babushka on my head, I guess, keeping my head nice and dry. It's another picture of gas prices. I used to take pictures of gas prices all the time. I thought it was great. Um, is Hooters again because we couldn't get enough. We had to go back again. And there's the same guy that pulled Anthony's pants the prior night, and we go to see him again. So we were just glutton for punishments. This guy was one of those guys that poses and he doesn't move, like he's like a statue type thing. You know what I mean? A human statue. It's always fun. And there we go. Is the guy, one man band. Looks like he made some instrument. And these are the girls we met from Connecticut when we were down there. And yeah, the Connecticut chicks. If you've been a fan of this show for many years, you know all about the Connecticut chicks. In fact, the one that I dated many years ago, we had met that night. So, 23 years ago, 2 years ago, 22 years ago. Where they are today, I have not a clue. But that brings us today. Let's see. Hold on. We got one more day. Excuse me. In Fort Myers. What do we 2 days in Fort Myers? What we got? Yeah, let's do the last day in Fort Myers, and then we'll go to the Daytona pictures, okay? We'll do that in the next episode because we went to Fort Myers and we stayed at a hotel in Daytona Beach, and then we drove back home. But let's finish up Fort Myers in this episode right here. We only got a few more pictures to go through, and we'll go through this stuff right here. Here we go. How you like those apples, guys? And then we'll share this. Yibbity boo, yibbity dee. There we go. All right, so this is the Shell Factory in Fort Myers. Now, this place was known for like some weird gifts. They have like a fudge shop in there. A lot of taxidermy they had in there. It was like a Florida like gift place. Years ago, back in the day, it was little mini like kids amusement park in the back. They had kind of like a Storyland type place with just like real big rides for smaller rides. There's some video footage I have from when I'm a kid. We had gone there. I got to bring it up and post it online, but that was gone by the time we were here. This place is just closed down a year ago. And when I was in Fort Myers, I was meaning to go there to see what's left of it, but from what I understand, it's all fenced in. You can't get to it anymore. But it was just kind of like a touristy place right over the bridge in like North Fort Myers area, going towards like Cape Coral type thing that we had gone to. It was kind of a place to kill time. I've gone a few times, and we just took a picture of it. And thank God I have a picture because it doesn't exist anymore. So I like those apples. Here we go. We got Joe and Anthony at my grandparents' house, just hanging out. There's our Nextel. You can see it's my Nextel. I think that is that silver one right there. So some retrospect right there. Good old days. And here us at the Owl's Nest coffee shop. I think it was called. It's called. Yeah, I think it was called the Owl's Nest. I don't think there's a sign in there. So there was this cool little. So there's this outdoor mall in Fort Myers, not the Edison Mall, but another mall called the Bell Tower Mall, and it has all. It was always known to be like the higher end mall of the area, and they had like these outdoor shops and stuff. And you walked around. It was right in the movie theater, all that stuff. So, but they had a coffee shop in this place that we'd go to all the time and hang out. It was like a spot. It was a really chill place. It was like couches and like had a like dark light and really cool environment. We'd go there and have some coffees and chill, and yeah, it was something to do while we're in before we go like see a movie or something, or before we headed out for the night or whatever like that. But this was the spot. I spent a lot of time here over the years. This is unfortunately closed as well. Closed about a few years ago. And here we are just hanging out, drinking coffee, chilling, doing our thing. This is a picture of the gas station. Not when we were there, but a couple years later, of where we met the Connecticut girls at the gas station, the mobile station there. There's a picture of the mobile station when we had met them. And there's a picture of what it looked like a few years after, and now it's gone. They knocked it down. Nicest bathroom I've ever been to in a gas station. I'm gonna keep this picture up right here. This is a great bathroom, beautiful bathroom, spotless. They pristine condition this mobile station had for a bathroom. It was beautiful. It was brilliant, and I always remember this bathroom. And it was so memorable. I decided to take a picture of this bathroom. This is what you're looking at right now. Picture of the bathroom in Fort Myers mobile station that no longer exists. And this was the hotel across the street from the mobile station, which, if to give you some perspective, it's between Pagefield and Bell Tower. It is on US 41. It's across the street from Anthony's Ladies Apparel and Mona Lisa's Pizza. This place was great. This is the hotel that had a Sam Salsa's restaurant, which was like a steakhouse that had an outdoor tiki bar, which was a Radisson hotel, and it was also had like a strip, like a motel in the back. And the cool thing about this hotel is the Red Sox and the Twins had their spring training down in Fort Myers. So what they would do is a lot of the minor league players that were also spring training with them would stay at these hotels. So at night, and I showed you a picture of the Walgreens. It's across the street from the Walgreens. At night, you'd go to the bar, or you go into the parking lot and you hang out, and you actually see some like baseball players and stuff like this. We probably met baseball players who maybe became professionals, and we have no idea. We have no idea who these people are. I don't have any recognition of any of them. I don't know who's met. Some of them may not even made it past single A ball. Who knows? But there's potential there that we might have met something over the years, and we just don't know. But that's what we did. And this is no longer there anymore. They actually knocked down the steakhouse and the hotel, and they have like a Wawa there now. Funny enough. But that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like that night. That's what it looked like right before they ripped it down. Right there. What year was that? Says every year. 2018. I can't. I think they ripped it down before that. Yeah, they definitely ripped it down before 2018. Um, yeah, and it was just this is Adam drinking wine. It's the only alcohol we had the entire trip. The girls were able to get us a bottle of wine, so we meet up with them. We seven of us because Anthony went home. She had a bottle of wine. And that was it. No, Joey went home. I'm sorry. Anthony had a drink. So six of us shared a bottle of wine that we didn't have a bottle opener for. We actually had to take a coat hanger and we had to twist the top of it. And I MacGyvered some kind of like bottle opener. I jammed it in there and we put a little angle to it and we twirled it and got it up. And we had some corky, cheap gas station wine. So it was good. And that's the last picture. Anthony right there sitting in the chair. It was a two level. They were on the upper level. The story of them was the reason they were even in Fort Myers in the first place was apparently one of their friends, they were from like Southern Connecticut. One of their friends' dads that were on the trip with them had a condo in Fort Myers they were supposed to stay at that ended up being booked out or something like that. So last minute effort, they got booked a hotel room at the Radisson, ran a 41, and there we go. And that was the first few days of our trip. Now we're like not doing anything crazy at this point, right? Because we weren't drinking, we weren't going out. We went down to the beach a few times. We got into like some of the clubby type places that would allow us into an extent, but for the most part, they were like pretty strict about not letting anyone under 21 in. We got lucky a couple times. So that was about it. But um, that was the first couple of days of the trip, and then that was it. And after this, we left the next day. We got the Connecticut girls contact information and stuff like that, and they were staying in Fort Myers for a couple more days, and we were heading to Daytona. And we had like 3 days in Daytona before we headed back up to Boston. So we're at March, looks like 15th at this point. We started the trip on Friday, March 12th. So yeah, so we're about no, we're in March 16th right now. So the next day we head to Daytona. So we'll do that next episode of the 84 show, and you get to see the crazy shit we did in Daytona and a little more of the story, what ended up happening at the end of the trip, and all this stuff. But thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, leave your comments below. Let us know if you've ever been to Fort Myers or any of this stuff that we talk about on the show, and we'll see you guys next week. See you later. Bye.